welcome again. So in this class, we will go over previous UTME questions. You'll find useful tips and tricks alongside correct answers and solutions for all the home economics questions. Like always, we would be using the ExamGuide app. You can download and practice more past questions using the app. So are you ready? Let's get started. Now, which question paper type of home economics as indicated above is given to you? Now this depends on which one is given to you, but for this one that I'm attempting is the type green. Okay, so it depends on what type of paper type is given to you. But for this one, we have the paper type green. Now let's proceed to the next question. In choosing a site for the location of a restaurant, the home economist uses the knowledge from which of these subjects? So we use the knowledge from geography. We use the knowledge from geography. Geography is, the study that has to do with the knowledge of places, the relationship of people and where they live. So now geography will help you understand where to choose to put up your restaurant, just in case you want to do one. So let's look at the next question. Now, the aspect of home economics that equips an individual to work in a social center is, now the correct answer for that question is child development. Okay, if you remember quite well, we talked about the different aspects of home economics. Now, child development is one part that helps you to, work with children. So as a social worker, you would have to have that knowledge in child development to help you do what? Work in a social center. So child development is the answer to that question. Now let's look at this one as well. The process of preparing a food shopping list in meal management is, we have several options here, and then we're going to go with planning. Planning is very important. Planning is the right answer for this question. Now, before you go doing your food shopping list, you must have a plan. So you would have to plan what you want to buy, draw a budget, so it can guide you so you don't do impulse buying, which is not part of what you want to do. So one of the very important things you should do when preparing your food shopping list is to get a plan. So you must plan. So planning is the answer for this question. Now let's move on. Now the first stage in the decision-making process is, now we have different options: identifying the problem, discussing the problem, considering the consequences, making a list of alternatives. Now, the first stage, what do you do first when there's a problem? The first things first is to do what? Identify the problem. When you're able to identify the problem, then you can now work out modalities and how to solve them. So yes, the first stage in what decision-making process is what? Identifying the problem. You must know what the problem is before you proceed to maybe discussing it, making a list of alternatives, and then finally considering the consequences if there are no changes. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Direct family income is mainly derived from, now we have cattle rearing, clothing repair, medical services, farm produce. Now the answer would be farm produce. Now, this would mean that, as family, you would want income, multiple streams of income. So now the direct family income would come from farm produce, because this is what you do. You prepare these things at home and then you sell them to make money for the family. So the direct family income is mainly derived from farm produce. Okay, now let's look at this. Effective use of time involves, A, we have arranging all household chores properly, B, planning to do many unrelated chores at the time, C, avoiding rest periods while working, D, starting with work that takes shorter time. So which option do you think is the best answer for this question? Now, the best answer for this question is to do what? Arrange all household chores properly. Now, that would help you make good use of time. Time management, very, very important. So when you arrange all the household chores properly, you wouldn't have to bother about where this is, where that other one is. You would have everything in place, so you would make good use of your time. You know, time management is very, very important, and to make effective use of your time, which is very, very important. So it's important to arrange all your household chores properly when you intend working. Now, a household gadget that uses mechanical energy is, we have toaster, we have grinding stone, we have pressure cooker, and then we have blender. Now, mechanical, this has to do with a little bit of effort. So it's a grinding stone. A grinding stone is a gadget that is mechanically operated. Now, you know, most of you don't even know it, I know. Now, this was used by our parents long time ago. Yeah, most of them still use it anyways, but today we are more used to using our blenders, you know, we're used to a lot of these electronic gadgets and not the mechanical ones anyway. So this is a mechanical gadgets that requires you to use mechanical energy. Now, which of the following resources are personal to a homemaker? Which of the following resources are personal to a homemaker? Now, we have options like energy, time, abilities, and skills. Then we have fatigue, energy, blenders and hoovers. Then we have abilities, labor-saving devices, and time. Then we have carpet, sweepers, rotary beaters, and skills. Now, what we're trying to ask is that, or what this question implies is that, what are the resources that are personal? You know, it now boils down to individuals. What happens, or what is this thing that is personal to someone? Now, the option here should be energy, time, ability, and skills. We do not have all of these things at a go. No, it varies. Let me put it this way, it varies. Now, my energy level and yours might not be the same thing. Now, time, we might really not have, you know, the ample time to do a lot of things. So it's personal to individuals. Now, abilities as well, you know. We do not really have same abilities, and our skills. A lot of people are gifted, they are skilled to do a lot of things, while some persons are not skilled to be able to do a lot of many other things like other people. So energy, time, abilities, and skills are personal to these are resources that are personal to a homemaker. Now let's look at the next one. Which of the following is a characteristics of an expanding family? Which of these is a characteristic of an expanding family? Now we have parenting and financial obligations. Now this is the correct answer, okay? Parenting and financial obligations. Now this is very important for an expanding family. You have to parent the children properly, and then of course there's also financial obligations. You need to do some other things that goes beyond bringing children. You have to do what? Take them to school, buy them, clothe them, buy them things, clothe them, and a whole lot of that. So parenting and financial obligations are characteristics of an expanding family. Okay, let's look at the next one. A factor that is or that should be discouraged in sibling relationship include, now we have A, effective communication, B, affection, C, companionship, D, we have jealousy. Now, which of these should be discouraged? Now, we have a whole lot of them here that should be encouraged, such as your effective communication, affection, yes, siblings should be affectionate to one another, okay? They should find companionship in themselves, okay? They should be their friends. And then the one that should be discouraged, of course, is what? Jealousy, okay? Now, jealousy is something that should be discouraged among siblings. It shouldn't be accepted at all. It's something that should be discouraged. because, you're jealous of your sister, your brother. It's not acceptable. So jealousy is one factor that should be discouraged among siblings. Now, a full-term pregnancy has a gestation period of A, we have 37 weeks, B, 39 weeks, C, 40 weeks, D, 49 weeks. Now, gestational period, this is from the day you missed your period to the day of delivery. Now, this is 40 weeks. 40 weeks. The answer is what? 40 weeks. A full-term pregnancy has a gestational period of what? 40 weeks. Now, yes, you can a woman that is pregnant can actually put to bed from the 37th to 39th week, but a full-term pregnancy or a gestation period goes for 40 weeks, and I think about 6 days to go that. All right, so let's look at the next question. One of the problems that is more pronounced in late pregnancy is A, we have nausea, we have vomiting, we have heartburn, we have leg cramps. Now, all of these are problems that are associated with what? Pregnancy. Now, the question is late pregnancy. Which of these is more pronounced in late pregnancy? Now, this is heartburn. Heartburn is a problem that is what? Pronounced in late pregnancy. As the woman advances in her pregnancy, whatever she eats tends to be very discomforting when she takes them. So it feels like it's not well digested. So she tends to have what? Heartburn. So at this point, you need to just cut down on some of the things you take and possibly eat in bits. Okay. Now, heartburn is that problem that is pronounced in late pregnancy. Other ones come, first trimester, second trimester, but the heartburn is very peculiar when the pregnancy is late. Let's look at the next question. Now, green color is most suitable in the A, we have bedroom, we have kitchen, we have dining room, we have the toilet. We would pick dining room. Green color is most suitable for the dining room. It has this feeling of, it's calm, so it's suitable for the dining room. I'm sure you know what the dining room is. That's where we stay to eat our food. So green color is most suitable for the dining room. Now, artificial ventilation in the home is achieved through A, we have doors and windows, perforated fancy blocks, C, air conditioning, D, chimney. Now, artificial ventilation is achieved in the home through air conditioning, okay? Now, what the air condition does is to take moist and heat away from the house. So it's more like an artificial ventilation when there is, or no, not like when there is none, okay? Sometimes there is, but the air conditioner is that helps what gives us that artificial ventilation. It keeps cool at home and takes away the moist and sweaty or stuffy heat in the house. So let's look at the next question. Now we have a diagram here. Are you familiar with this diagram? Now look at it properly, look at it closely. Now look at this. What diagram do we have here? Is it a blender, an oven, a toaster, or a mixer? I'm sure you should know this one, of course. Yes, it's a toaster. Now we use the toaster to toast our bread to give it this brown, color feeling to make it look good. Now, there are different types of toasters. Now, this is one of it. So this diagram that we have here is the toaster. Now, let's move on. Now, from the diagram above, which insects feed on leftover foods? When you keep your food at home after eating and then you keep them there, which of these insects feed on them? Now, we have different insects here, but the answer to this question is the 3 and 4, these and these. This looks like your cockroach and bug. Okay, so these feeds on leftover foods. So the option here is B. Let's look at the next one. The label information on canned food gives the manufacturer's name, color of food, processing method, nutrient content. Now, what does the label information on a canned food do? Of course, they give us the nutrient content. You know, you tend to look at the food composition, what they are all about before you buy them. So the label information helps us to know the nutrient content in the food that we are consuming or about to consume. Let's look at the next one. Food substances needed by the body for energy, growth, repair, and control of body processes are, you should know this one now, isn't it? Okay, A, minerals and lipids, fats and carbohydrates, nutrients, minerals. I see you smiling, of course you know that this is nutrients, yes. So we said no, nutrients are chemical substances found in food. So yes, they aid in growth, energy, repair, and the control of body processes. So nutrients is the best option or answer for this question. Now the enzyme in the mouth that acts on starch is your ptyalin. This is the enzyme that acts on starch in the mouth, ptyalin. All these are enzymes. Your lipase, your pepsin are all enzymes, but the one that acts on starch is your ptyalin. Let's move on. Now, vitamin K is synthesized by bacteria is in the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, or the large intestines. Now, vitamin K is synthesized by bacteria in the large intestine. That is the correct answer. The large intestine. That's where vitamin K is synthesized. Let's look at the next one. A substance which is insoluble in water but soluble in oil is what? We have grease, we have lipids, glycerol, and we have alcohol. Now, you know, when something is insoluble, that means it doesn't go down or it doesn't accommodate, it doesn't fit in. So that's just to put. Now a substance which is insoluble in water but soluble in oil is lipids. They are referred to as what? Lipids. Now examples of lipids are your fats, grease, fats and oil, wax. All these are examples of lipids. So they are not soluble, they are insoluble in water. Let's look at the next question. An expectant mother needs food rich in A, we have carbohydrates, B, fats, C, zinc, D, iron. Now, what does an expectant mother need? She needs food rich in what? Zinc. She needs a lot of food rich in zinc. Now, why is this? Because she's actually feeding for her fetus to grow up. So she needs extra calcium. And then you find zinc in some of the dairy products. That's where you find zinc. So we should have to take more of these dairy products to get enough zinc so as to let her fetus grow properly and stay healthy. Now, in table setting, a cover includes A, placement, silver, glass, and dessert plates. B, placement, silver, glass, dinner plate, and then dessert plate. Then C, we have teapot, teacup, saucer, and glass. Then D, we have spoon, fork, knife, teaspoon, and silver. Now, to start with, what is a cover, if you must ask? Now, a cover is this place that is made for someone to eat. So now, what is expected to be there in table setting? What is expected to be there? Now, they're asking you in table setting, a cover includes what? Now, A is, we have B as the right option. Placement, silver, glass, the dining plate, and then what? The dessert plate. Now, the dessert plate is what? This are all the requirements that are needed when setting a cover in table setting. Let's look at the next question. Eating habits of adolescents is mostly influenced by, we have A, nutritionists, B, teachers, C, peers, and then D, parents. Who influences the eating habits of adolescents? Of course, their peers. Now they go to school and then they see their friends eat some things, and then, they tend to get more influenced. At that age and stage, there are a whole lot of peer pressure from their end. So their peers usually or mostly influence their eating habits. Now, which of the following is recommended for cocktail party? Which of the following is recommended for a cocktail party? Now, a cocktail party is just a party that doesn't have too much of formalities. People can just stand in a cocktail party, stand around, talk, and just gist, and then take light drinks. So you do not expect to take very, very heavy foods. So you need to just take something very, very light and okay. So now let's look at the options we have here. Pounded yam, jollof rice, and chin chin. Then we have B, sausage rolls, scotch eggs, and buns. Then C, we have scotch eggs, yam pottage, and salad. Then D, we have jollof rice, buns, and moi moi. So you remember what I said earlier? No. Now, they eat finger foods in what? Cocktail parties. So the best option here is sausage rolls, scotch eggs, and buns. Okay, this is what is obtainable when it comes to cocktail parties. Okay, you take something light, not heavy food such as what we have here, pounded yam, jollof rice, and chin chin. Okay, so it's sausage rolls, scotch eggs, and buns. And now we also have another diagram here again. Now look at this diagram properly. Can you tell what it is? Now the diagram above can best be described as A, we have a gas cooker, B, we have an electric cooker, C, we have a kerosene cooker, D, we have a grill cooker. Now when you see diagrams like this, you have to be very, very careful. You have to take a close look at it before you attempt your questions. Very, very important, because sometimes the diagrams can be very confusing if you do not pay close attention to it. You might just say, it looks like something. Now, it might be looking like a grill cooker to you, or at the same time, it's looking like a gas cooker, okay? And then you're not getting it. You might just pick something and then, and pick the wrong answer. So if you look closely, this diagram here is an electric cooker. So the diagram we have here is the electric cooker. Let's look at the next question. The best method for mixing cake is, the best method for mixing cake. How many of you have made cake? Like you made cake. Okay, I'm sure you know this one if you've made cake before. Now we have A, folding in, creaming, C, kneading, D, rubbing in. Now the best method for mixing cake is what? Using the creaming method, okay? You cream with your sugar and then your fat, okay, your butter. Now, creaming method is what is achieved when mixing cake. So creaming is the answer to this question. Now let's proceed. Hope you're following what we're doing here, right? Good. Now let's move on. The proportion of flour to fat in short crust pastry is respectively, we have different options here now. When we're talking about short crust pastry, we're referring to these pastries that are used to make, a snack. Now, let's say for meat pie and then, for some other snack. Now, short crust pastry is usually used. Now, what is the proportion of flour? And we're asking you, how many amount or what's the level of flour to fats? How much quantity? So we have option A here. We have 1 to 2. And is the flour 1 while the fat 2? Or B is the flour supposed to be 2 while 2, let's say 2%, and then the fat 1%. Then C, 1 to 3. Then D, 3 to 1. Now the answer to this question is 2 to 1. In short crust pastry, flour to fat is 2 to 1. So the answer here is what? 2 to 1. Let's move on. How many leveled teaspoons are there in a tablespoon? How many leveled teaspoons are there in a tablespoon? And now, if you've seen the different spoons we have, we have different types of spoons, from the 1 teaspoon, half teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, half tablespoon. So now the question is, how many leveled teaspoons are there in what? In a tablespoon. So we have options 6, is it 6, is it 4, is it 3 or 2? Now the answer is 3. We have 3 leveled tablespoons in a teaspoons in a tablespoon. Okay, leveled teaspoons. We have 3 leveled teaspoons in a tablespoon. Okay, get that. Let's move on to the next question. When pastry dough is allowed to relax, the substance it absorbs to become tender and pliable is: A, we have alkaline, B, we have acid, C, we have water, D, we have oxygen. Now, after putting everything in your dough, and then, you now leave it to proof, the question is, what is that substance that it absorbs that makes it tender and pliable, for you to now work with, to now prepare whatever you want to make? Now, what is that substance that makes it do that? So the answer here is water. Water does that. Water is the substance that makes it what? Tender and pliable. We put water when we mix our dough. After mixing, we put water and leave it to sit to proof a bit. So water is that substance that makes it tender and what? Pliable for us to use and prepare whatever we want to prepare. Now, the color of chlorophyll in an acid medium. The color of chlorophyll in an acid medium is: A, we have dull olive, B, we have lemon green, C, we have cheese yellow, D, we have apple green. Now, chlorophyll normally is green in color. Now the question is, the question is not asking you the color of chlorophyll on a natural state or when it has not been immersed in anything. Now the question says the color of chlorophyll in an acid medium. Okay, that means something has been added to it. What color does it give you? Now the answer here is dull olive. That is what the color texture comes out when it is in an acid medium base. Okay, now it gives you that dull olive. The color of chlorophyll in an acid medium is what? Dull olive. So dull olive is the correct answer. A set of mixing equipment in the kitchen is: we have grater, blender and fork, grater, wicks and knife, bowl, fork and palette knife, wicks, bowl and wooden spoon. Now, mixing equipment, that's all we're asked to identify. Now, wicks is a mixing what? Equipment, utensils, okay? Now, bowl and wooden spoon, we all use this to do what? To mix. So it's very important that you take note. So a set of mixing equipment in the kitchen is what? We have the wicks, bowl and what? Wooden spoon. That is the correct answer, D. Let's look at the next one. The factors to consider when selecting kitchen equipment are: A, we have number of people in the house, color of the building and ventilation. B, we have money, ventilation and the color of the building. Are these necessary? Then C, we have money, space, the durability and the kitchen type. Then D, we have space, ventilation, color and the site of the kitchen. Now, if you need to pick or select kitchen equipment, what are the things you should look out for? Now, the answer should be C. Yes, you should have money available, money at hand to do what? Pick what you want to pick. That's your kitchen equipment. And then you should have space to accommodate that equipment you want to buy. Space is one required or necessary factor when you're buying or purchasing what or selecting a kitchen equipment. So you can't be in a one bedroom and you're coming in with a deep freezer. So you have to bring something that can accommodate the space. Okay. Now also the durability of that equipment is very important. How long can this last for? So that's one thing you should look out for, not to buy something that's very expensive and in a month or 2 months to come and then it's all bad and spoiled. So another one is the kitchen type. Kitchen type. You know, we have different types of kitchen. So the kitchen type is another determining factor when you're selecting kitchen equipment. So it's very important. You know, the kitchen type is very important. Like we have kitchen types such as your U layout, we have the L, and then the corridor type. So you have to look at the type of kitchen type that you have when you need to purchase your equipment, your kitchen equipment. Let's look at the next question. Now we have a diagram here. Now look at the diagram closely. What does this diagram look like? Yeah, we're looking at it. It looks like a blender. It looks like a mixer, and a whole lot of these. Now, yes, now they give you an illustration, they give you numberings for all of this. They give you some numbers for you to identify some of the parts that are what labeled. Now, look at this properly. Now, they said the part labeled I is, that means this one here. The part labeled I is what? Is it the blender cup? Is it the blender goblet? Is it the mixing bowl? Is it the mixing glass? Now, the answer is B. It is the blender what? Goblet. Now, this is the blender goblet. Now, this diagram here, so labeled I is what? The blender goblet. Now, let's look at the next question. So, we're still attempting questions based on the diagram, using the diagram. Now, they said the beta ejection button is, now you have these other parts labeled. We've been able to identify this one. So the other ones, which of these is the beta ejection? Okay, now the beta ejection would be that, you know, where you have your mixing, what do they call it? Now the mixer itself, okay, the wicks. So now the ejector is what they're asking you to identify here. Now look at it properly. This is the ejector for this diagram you have here, which is 2. So this is it. When you press here, then you are ejecting the beta. So the option here is B. B is the right answer for that question. Now let's look at this. Oral rehydration therapy is a treatment for. Oral dehydration therapy is a treatment for A, we have malaria, B, we have jaundice, C, we have kwashiorkor, D, we have diarrhea. Now, oral dehydration, this is to, when you say oral, there's something that goes into the mouth, right? Something that is taken. So now this is for diarrhea. Now, when someone stools and has been stooling for a long time, especially more children, so you can actually do oral rehydration to help regain lost energy or strength when in the course of what? Constant poop or inconvenience using the toilet. So oral rehydration therapy is a treatment for diarrhea. Let's look at the next question. Now, bacteria that commonly causes food poisoning are the bacteria that, you know, that commonly causes what? Food poisoning. We have Shigella and Salmonella. We have B, Clostridium and Staphylococcus. C, we have Staphylococcus and Shigella. Then D, we have Clostridium and Staphylococcus. Now the answer is A, Shigella and Salmonella. And now Shigella was named after the person that actually discovered this. Okay, his name was Shigi, so it was named after him of some sort. So this is the bacteria that is what's common when it comes to food poisoning, that causes what? Food poisoning. Please take note. Now let's look at the next question. Shepherd's pie is a good example of a retrieved dish from leftover. Which leftover food can we make? Okay, with when retrieved. Now, when you talk about retrieved, this is a French term meaning leftover food. Okay, so now you know when you have foods that are left over, you can actually create new dish from them. You know, rather than throwing them away, you can make something from them. You know, instance like if you have your boiled yam and by the next day, you're tired of eating it, you can actually create something, that's retrieve. You can actually create something from your boiled yam rather than throwing them away. And then from your leftover food, you can actually create something from them. So now, shepherd's pie is a good example of a retrieved dish from which of these leftover foods here. We have fish, we have meat, we have egg yolk, then we have egg whites. Now, the answer is for meat, okay? Shepherd's pie is a retrieved dish made from meat. Let's look at the next question. Now, a garden tool used for digging up seedlings for transplanting is A, we have spade, B, we have shovel, C, we have trowel, D, we have garden fork. And now, which of these garden tool is used for digging up seedlings for transplanting? Okay? Guessing? Good. Okay, now the answer is your trowel. Your trowel. Okay? How do we explain what a trowel is? Now, it is used, just like I said, to dig up seedlings for planting. But most of us would have seen it more when it is used to do, when we use it to, people that build, they use it to smoothing their cement and all of that. That's what a trowel is. So it is used as a gardening tool as well, aside being used to smoothing your cement. It's also used as a garden tool to dig up seedlings and for transplanting them, to plant them. Now let's look at the next question. Now we have another diagram here. Now look at the diagram closely. Now the diagram above illustrates, what does the diagram we have here illustrate? What is it trying to connote? What is it trying to say? Now look at it very well. Now A, does it connote planting, B, sucking, C, bulbing, C, bulbing. Okay, now this diagram here, what illustrates budding. Okay, budding. Now this is what this diagram illustrates, when you try to bud a new plant, using the main plant as what the major plant. You're trying to bring in some other plant in to grow until it's fully prepared, then you now move it away. So what we have here is a process called what? Budding. The diagram we have is called budding. Okay, now let's look at this question. A flame retardant fabric is best suited for, we have A, children's apparel, B, we have adolescents wear, C, we have adults wear, D, we have women's lingerie. Okay, now flame retardant fabric. What do we mean by flame retardant fabric? That means a fabric that would not easily be attracted or gets caught up in flames easily or readily. Now, who does this type of fabric suit? Now, of course, yes, you know them, children. Children. A flame retardant fabric is best suited for children. You know how playful children can be. So a flame retardant fabric is best suited for children, children's apparel, their clothing. It's very important. Now let's look at the next question. Matching edges in printed pattern is represented by, now we have different options. Now you have to be very familiar with your pattern drafting here for you to be able to attempt this question. So if you're not very familiar with your pattern drafting, you'll have to go back to learn it. So if you see questions like this, you'll be able to do what? dabble on them and get the right answers. Now, matching edges in printed pattern is represented this way. We have different, okay? Now, option A is the best answer for that question. This is it. That's the diagram to say that this refers to what? Matching edges in printed pattern. This is it. They are all what? The same. They are all matching despite the space and all of that. It's matching. Now look at the next question. Sanforizing is a process which guarantees that a fabric will be A, we have shrink resistant, B, we have flame resistant, C, we have crease resistant, D, we have water repellent. Now, what is sanforization? What is that process all about? Now, the process of sanforizing is a process that guarantees that the fabric will not be what? Will not shrink. So it is shrink what? Resistant. That is the answer to that question, okay? It's a process. Sanforizing is a process which guarantees that a fabric will not what? Shrink. It will not shrink. Let's look at the next one. Which of the following fibers has no twist in its original state? Which of the following fibers do not have twist in its original state? Now, we have wool, we have cotton. Of course, wool has twist, cotton has. Silk does not. So silk is the answer to this question. Silk does not have twist in its original state. It does not. Let's look at the next question. A major factor which affects the choice of clothing is, a major factor that affects the choice of clothing is, we have costs, we have length and width ratio, we have weave, D, we have weft characteristics. Now, which of these shows or affects your choice when it comes to getting yourself clothing accessories? Now, look at this. The first major factor is what? The costs. Money available. If you have money to do what? To get them, of course you can. So the major factor that affects the choice of clothing is the cost of the clothing. So the cost is a major factor that actually affects our choice of clothing. Let's look at the next question. Now, the part of the sewing machine that holds the fabric tight against the presser foot is the, now we have different options here. Now this is to let you know how much you know your sewing machine, okay? This is just a question that directs to that part, that you know your sewing machine. Now the part of the sewing machine that holds the fabric tight against the presser foot is, now we have different parts of the sewing machine here. Now, A, is it the spool pin that does that? B, we have the feed dog. C, we have needle clamp. D, we have the throat plate. So which of the part of the sewing machine that holds the fabric tight against the presser foot? That the answer is what? The feed dog. The feed dog does that. It holds the fabric tight against the presser foot. And the feed dog is that part of the sewing machine that looks like a canoe-like thing that you press down when you need to sew. So that's the feed dog. Now it is responsible for tightening the fabric against, that holds the fabric and makes it tight against the presser foot. Let's look at the next question. Now, sewing needles appropriate for embroidery are we have the different types of needles here, sewing needles. Now, which of these are what? Appropriate for embroidery, okay? When you need to embroider, which needle should you use? Now, we have the crewels, we have the sharps, we have straights, we have betweens. Now, all these are types of needles, and they have their different purpose of which and the ways of which they are being used. Now, which of these is used for embroidery, best used for embroidery? Now, the appropriate one here is the the crewels. Now this is used for what? Embroidery, to embroider on a dress. So the crewel is used to put embroideries on dress. Now let's look at the next question. Now, which of the following diagrams represents a reduction in width in a pattern? Now this brings us back again to pattern drafting. So you have to look closely, you have to pay attention here, so you'll be able to get the right answer to the question. Now, which of the following diagrams represent a reduction in width in a pattern? If you look at the questions and the options, you look closely, does this do that? A, B, you look closely. Now D is the right answer. This diagram demonstrates or illustrates that there's a reduction in width in a pattern. Now this is the answer for this question. And now let's move on to the next question. Okay, a fresh paint is best removed by, A, we have turpentine, B, we have enzyme washing powder, C, we have ammonia, then D, we have hydrogen peroxide. Now, which of these removes fresh paint stain on our clothes or wherever? Now, the answer is turpentine. Now, turpentine removes fresh paint stains on our fabrics. And how it is gotten from the back of like a pine tree, mostly pine tree, you know, from the distillations from the back. So this is able to remove fresh paint from our clothes. Okay, so we have come to the end of this class. Now you can practice more questions using the ExamGuide app. You know, see you in our next class. Practice more. Be your best. Bye for now.